Here's where Lee and Marietta Llewellyn and their 8 children live. And this is the home of Fred and Mary Jean Fisher and their 8 children. And here's the home of Alan and Cora Lee Peer. They have 8 children. It looks very much like a typical suburban housing development, but all the families have 8 children. Well, this is by no means a typical housing development. It is Bethel Bible School in Chattanooga, the only children's home in America exclusively for the children of prisoners. Before the children at Bethel came here, their homes were anything but typical.
Well, first of all, they've lived in chicken coops. They've lived, our first family of 6 children, when Bethel started in 1954, they actually lived under a tree. Their father was in prison, mother in a mental hospital, that was their home. They've lived in buses, they've lived in cars, they've eaten out of garbage cans to survive. They've stood in the room and seen daddy murder mother, they've seen mother murder daddy. They've had their father's baby, their brother's baby, all kinds of sexual abuse, physical abuse. Some have been killed in their homes. And many times children have witnessed stabbings and all types of things.
Director Ike Kay has shocking stories to tell. One good friend of Bethel, entertainer Pat Boone, has heard them all.
As a parent, it's hard for me to comprehend how a man or a woman can be disturbed, unbalanced enough to do things that involve their own kids that I've heard about, but those things do go on.
Pat's daughter Debbie Boone also cares about Bethel.
I'm not sure there's any place quite like it, and so I think that makes it intriguing for a lot of us. I can't think of any other place that takes kids from backgrounds just like this, and a specific place dedicated to kids that have these needs.
Another fan of Bethel is singer B.J. Thomas.
I never really had a good relationship with my dad, and because of an alcoholic problem, and I just, you know, I kind of relate to these kids in a special way. And in your childhood, if you've had 4 or 5 years that weren't right, or you have some kind of discrepancy or something missing in your childhood, you never replace that. There's no way, there's no way I can look back and have and replace that lost relationship that I had with my dad. And so, in these kids' cases, you can't ever replace a torn childhood.
Bethel Bible School goes about the business of repairing those torn childhoods. It began in 1954 with the prison ministry of Reverend and Mrs. Floyd Hipp. They started a home for prisoners' children when they realized many prisoners didn't even know where their children were. The first family of kids were found living under a tree. Since then, Bethel has helped many children with backgrounds equally sad.
Well, there was a family of 5 kids that have gone through Bethel. Woke up one morning and the little shanty they lived in was on fire, and the oldest of the kids got his brothers and sisters outside to find that the mother, who was drunk and a prostitute, was cursing because she had set the place on fire. She was trying to get rid of this responsibility that she felt she couldn't handle anymore. So she went to prison, and the kids came to Bethel.
Ike Kay wants the children of Bethel to have normal home lives. He knows what works from his own childhood in an understaffed children's home.
My father was caught in bed with a 14-year-old girl and was going to be arrested and placed in prison, and rather than do that, he went in the barn and killed himself with a shotgun. And naturally brought a lot of tragedy in our lives. We came over this country from Scotland. We were here in New Jersey about 3 years, and then my mother contracted TB because she had to work and she was never healthy. And then she went into a hospital 10 years, and then my brother and I were placed in a children's home in New Jersey.
The name Bethel Bible School is somewhat outdated. It is no longer a school. Ike Kay believes strongly that the kids should attend schools in the community.
They're involved in teams at schools. They attend local churches as a family. They in plays, and so it's just, we're trying to make this as close to a normal home situation as they possibly can have.
The Bible part of Bethel Bible School is still very current. Bethel is proud to be a Christian home, and house parent Cora Lee Peer feels she was called by the Lord to this work.
I mean this literally. I go to my room and cry and say, thank you, Lord, that I had a few years to share my love and Christ and what you've given me, and some of the children I will never forget.
One of the children living with the Peers is Kathy King.
It was really hard for me to come to Bethel because my family was broken up, and we had to be split up for a long time, and because my mom shot my dad, and she got in prison, but she's out now. So it's really, I mean, I get to go up there to see her, so it's really a nice time for, you know.
Every year, celebrities come to Chattanooga to raise money for Bethel. The children's home has no government support, no United Fund money, and it's not affiliated with any denomination. It has a budget of $30,000 a month, and the golf and bowling tournaments by celebrities help. But they only supply less than 1 month of the expenses. Expenses which give guys like John Quarles a home. John has come a long way since he arrived at Bethel.
I didn't talk for 2 months.
What?
I didn't talk 2 months because I'd talk off and on. I just didn't feel good. I got all pale and everything, and so until I came here and Uncle Brady and Diane finally straightened me up.
What made you start talking again?
I didn't really stop talking. I just didn't, you know, I just quiet and hung my head down. I did that before I even come here. It just, you know, it bugged me.
John's house parent is Barry Evans.
We've had some alumni come back that, you know, haven't always turned out right, you know, which is to be expected. And my kids have asked me, well, is that what I'm going to have to turn out like? And I say no, because you've got potential. All you need to do is just recognize it and deal with it. And if I felt that our kids were going to turn out that way, I wouldn't waste my time here.
You just look into the faces of the kids, and you can see already that there's an openness, a sense that, gee, this world is a nice place, and I can have a productive, fulfilling place in it. Maybe I matter after all.